Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. Another conversation around racism and backlash regarding a TV show. The Last of Us Season 2 is a TV show that currently has a lot of identity politics that is built into the TV show, and this is not anything shocking, nor should it be shocking to anyone out there right now that is watching this video. The Last of Us Season 2 is co-created by Naughty Dog, obviously, and has Neil Druckmann involved with it, who is a master in identity politics. This person has decided to ruin his entire franchise by embracing identity politics in the second video game that he released, causing one of the biggest backlashes in gaming history that we know of. And yet here we have another example of racism in TV shows and video games being weaponized, not to protect people, but to essentially protect the corporate brands. They are being used as shields preemptively in order to bounce off any criticism that might come their way for their obvious identity-driven decisions that are going to inherently destroy the product 9 out of 10 times when it gets involved in the actual product itself. Today, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us 2, the pre-release media circle, and the entire racist supposed backlash, and how Naughty Dog, apparently just like Disney before them, which we're going to get into, preemptively trained both of their actresses on how to handle hate and bigotry before even a single episode aired. Naughty Dog just recently admitted to prepping not only Tati Gabrielle, but also Isabella Mercado for racism. We'll go back to Disney's identical handling of Moses Ingram during Obi-Wan Kenobi. That'll be separate later on in this video, and we'll explore how this trend of supposed fake racism outrage is becoming a essential cynical PR tool to deflect criticism and silence fans all around the world. So shout out to all of you 87,400 of you watching this video right now, and the nearly 48% of you who have not subscribed to this channel yet. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's break it down. Most recent developments right now have to do with Naughty Dog and HBO moving essentially full steam ahead with The Last of Us Season 2. And ahead of the latest episode airing for The Last of Us Season 2, the headlines started pouring in. And it's not even just for the latest episode. The headlines have been pouring in since the actual TV show even came out. Not about plot reveals, not about hype from the fan base, not about how fans are super excited for what's going to come next, but the headlines always read the same thing. It's racism, it's misogyny, it's sexism, it's whatever ism that you want to possibly throw at it. Except, no backlash has actually even occurred at the time. Before the show even came out, there was headlines going around everywhere about how there's going to be racist backlash, how there's going to be sexist backlash, how there's going to be all kinds of nonsense coming out with this TV show. And then they're like, oh, well, we're proven right when it eventually happens, because they know what they're doing. They know why they're making the decisions that they're making. So we just had a recent interview with Tati Gabrielle, who, by the way, does play a semi-major role in Season 2. She openly stated that she was trained and warned about possible online racism before joining the show. Naughty Dog wanted her mentally prepared for the internet hate, criticism, and what they framed as a toxic fan base. The same thing happened with Isabella Mercado, who's cast as Dina. She also admitted she was told to expect pushback, especially because she's a woman of color playing a character that fans are already familiar with from the game. But the thing is, here's the kicker. None of this backlash had even happened yet. It was preloaded into the media, primed and ready, so that when real fan feedback begins, any criticism can be dismissed with simply one word: racism. It's a protective bubble, a PR strategy, and a way to remove the audience from the equation and insulate the show from any accountability. It's a tried and true method that they have been using for quite a long time. If you guys look back in history, you'll see over the last few years, especially beginning around 2019 and 2020, but starting all the way back even before Ghostbusters of 2016, they have been using racism as a shield against criticism for a long time. Disney is a pro at this. It's damn near in their playbook, especially during the Obi-Wan Kenobi phase. If you guys remember what happened during Obi-Wan Kenobi, you'll realize that this strategy is not exactly new. Moses Ingram was an actress that was working on the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and she played the character Reva. Reva wasn't exactly the most liked character out there, and there was a lot of criticism over the show. But before the show even dropped, Disney published a campaign stating that they had prepped her for the racism that she would face as a black woman in the Star Wars universe. Yes, apparently Star Wars, a massively racist franchise, even though if you look back at some of the oldest videos available in history regarding Star Wars fans, you'll see all the way back that black people, white people, and everybody in between has been enjoying Star Wars for decades. But all of a sudden, these racial grifters had discovered Star Wars and decided they could weaponize it and utilize it as a white man's thing and try to turn it into something that it's not. Again, this has never been just a white man's thing. This has never been just one particular man's thing. It's just simply been something for people to enjoy. And yes, the majority of people that did enjoy Star Wars are men. That is obvious. Even Disney knows this. Kathleen Kennedy had admitted that the majority of their client base is males, and most likely straight males, right? They know this, and yet they still continue to make TV shows that are designed for anybody but the male, right? They are making so many feminist TV shows lately. I'm looking at you, the acolyte. And then when it bombs, they want to say, well, it bombed because the white male didn't watch the TV show. You made the TV show for the modern audience, so you should be looking at the modern audience as to why this show failed. But in any case, Moses Ingram was indeed trained to essentially be ready to handle racism and backlash for being a black woman in the Star Wars universe. But the simple fact is that this happened all before a single bit of dialogue was even delivered. They were already telling the press that the hate was coming. Then, like clockwork, what happened? Articles flooded in from major outlets. Twitter lit up like fire. The narrative that was Star Wars fans was racist, of course. But if you looked at the actual criticism, most fans just didn't like the character's writing, the forced screen time, or the fact that her arc was front and center in a show that was supposedly about Kenobi and Vader, right? Like, why would anybody care about Reva as a character being the front and center of this particular TV show when it is literally named after another character? It is the Kenobi show. People want to see more about Obi-Wan Kenobi. They don't want to see more about Reva. She would have been fine as a side character, but the moment she took center stage, people were obviously going to have a problem with that. Legitimate critiques, mind you, all shut down as bigotry. Criticism dismissed before it was even voiced. It was a script and a formula, and now Naughty Dog is using the same formula damn near word for word. So let's call this out for what it is. It's essentially manufactured outrage. The same exact thing that they try to accuse you and YouTubers of doing. They try to accuse us of doing manufactured outrage when the simple fact is people have been criticizing entertainment for decades, and they have every right to do it. Just the only difference now is that social media has allowed everybody to showcase their opinions, which makes it feel like it's manufactured when it's not. It's simply the same opinions that have been around for a very long time. So by preemptively warning actresses and media about possible racism, studios get essentially a get out of jail free card. When the backlash does come, no matter what it's about, they can say, see, we told you people would be racist, and it creates a kind of moral armor, a way to deflect everything from bad writing to poor casting to narrative decisions that just don't work, and label all of it as hate. To be honest with you, it's pretty damn pathetic. Are you worried about Abby's arc that would be handled in season 2? Well, guess what? You're a misogynist. Do you think Dina was better in the game? Well, guess what? You're a racist. You didn't like the show's pacing? Well, clearly you're being threatened by diversity. This isn't criticism, it's just simply audience gaslighting, and you're being told that your opinion isn't valid unless it lines up with the marketing narrative. And if it doesn't, then the only answer must be clear. It is simply just bigotry, which is not. Again, these are people who rely on the notion of bigotry in order to push their own bigotry. It's actually pretty damn hilarious. So now here's the sad part. This strategy hurts the real progress that can happen in the entertainment space. TV shows, video games, everything under the sun. There could be real progress being made, but unfortunately, we just don't have that ability to get that progress because there's people out here that are racial grifters that are trying to turn everything they possibly can into an oppression Olympic strategy, and it just really is pathetic. Because racism, let's be real, does in fact exist. I feel like that's obvious out there, right? I think anybody who goes around and says racism doesn't exist at all, I think they're lying to themselves. But I do believe that the majority of people are not in fact racist. I think the majority of people are perfectly fine with other people so long as you get respected by them, right? People care more about the respect that is given than the color of the person's skin. Nobody really cares about that these days. There are some people out there that do, obviously, and there are definitely trolls out there, obviously. If you're on the internet, of course there's going to be trolls. But let's be clear, if you are going to be putting out a TV show and you're going to be using the internet, perhaps you should grow a little bit of a thicker skin and understand that you are going to get haters. You are going to get people who are going to say stupid stuff to try to trigger you. They are few and far between. If you actually look at most of your comments, most of them are positive. The majority of my comments, 98%, are all positive. That 2% means absolutely nothing other than engagement to me. But again, there are real awful people online who do harass people for just being who they are, but they're few and far between. You're trying to take the exception and make it the norm. But when studios manufacture fake outrage and use it as a PR shield, it makes the audience less likely to believe future claims of racism. It's the classic boy who cried wolf. I'm looking at you, Jussie Smollett. Keep in mind, the whole thing that happened with Jussie Smollett happened back in 2000 and I believe 19. This was around the time where, DEI was really starting to become at its forefront. 2020 was the year when it really took off. So he's a prime example of what it means to cry wolf and then people suddenly not believing potential real issues that are happening. Again, who suffers? Not the executives, not the showrunners. I believe the actual actors suffer. People like Tati Gabrielle and Moses Ingram who have to face a skeptical, worn-out audience who's been told many times that their criticism is hate speech. Guess what else is happening right now in modern day entertainment? Guess who else is about to get the same exact supposed backlash? And guess who else is probably going to be taught about racism and hatred and all that stuff before the show even comes out? Yes, I'm looking at you, race swap Mr. Snape, right? Like Snape is being race swapped in the HBO Harry Potter TV show. It gives a whole nother meaning to the dark arts teacher, and he is going to be dealing with the same exact thing. It also cheats the fans, by the way, because real representation shouldn't need a protected bubble. It should be able to stand on its own with strong performances, good writing, and meaningful inclusion. But when is inclusion used as marketing tool instead of an actual storytelling choice? Well, you essentially just lose the audience trust at that point. So this trend tends to be a bigger problem. It tends to lead to what we call hollow diversity and virtue signaling. A perfect example of this is actually the actress who plays Dina, Isabella Mercado, who, by the way, back in 2020, there was an entire article written about her because she apparently said that anti-blackness in the Hispanic community is so real and not talked about enough. Because yes, this person who is Hispanic is trying to come out and say there is a massive anti-blackness sentiment in the Hispanic community, and she wanted to be the one to start the conversation. And when did she do this? Again, at the end of 2020 in December, the year of DEI, the year where all this nonsense really started to go like a wildfire, the same year where all of these consultancy firms really started to take off. That was the year that she decided to say this, because again, it's all hollow. It's all fake virtue signaling. It's all made themselves to look like they are the most amazing people in the world. They are the people that truly care. They are the ones that are truly virtuous. They are the moral grandstanders above the regular peasants like me and you that simply are out here being bigots. That's really what they'd like to say. So again, we've seen it across all streaming platforms. Shows and movies are increasingly filled with characters chosen based on checkboxes instead of an overall narrative value. The goal is not to tell diverse stories, it is to appear progressive for the headlines. The result, shallow characters, token casting, one-dimensional roles. And when the audience pushes back, not against the diversity, by the way, but against the execution, it's met with corporate finger pointing and accusations. Inclusion should be a storytelling strength, not a fallback excuse, but they still do it anyway. If your show falls apart under scrutiny, maybe the problem isn't the audience. Maybe the problem is that you wrote a bad show and assumed that no one would notice. But here's the thing. They actually do that. They do assume that no one would notice, because to these people, they view themselves as smarter than all of you. They view themselves as literally the smartest people in the room. When one of them walks into a room, they look around and say, wow, look at all these dumb people. That's how they view themselves. The narcissism is through the roof when it comes to Hollywood, and you see it every day. You see it play out literally every day. You can see it in their actions, you can see it in their interviews, you can see it in their comments, and you could damn sure see it with the way that they handle criticism. They are narcissists and they cannot let themselves go. That's really the biggest issue here. So when you see people like Moses Ingram, and you see people like Dottie, and you see people like Isabella, when you see all of these people that are being used as shields, need you guys to understand that they're okay with that, right? They're perfectly fine with being used as shields, because the narcissists in them, they want to be center of attention. They want to be center stage. And if that means they could be on all the headlines, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. They're going to continue to be that shield so long as it gives them the clout that they're looking for. It's sad, but it's true. These Hollywood narcissists care more about being in the headlines, regardless of good or bad, than anything else. So let's set the record straight overall. I mean, fans don't care what race or gender a character is. This has been proven more so than not. I hope people understand that. This has been proven way more to be true than it has been to not be true. It's pretty clear that most of the people that complain about certain characters, right, if they're being legitimate, They are complaining about the character simply because there's something wrong with the character, whether the story is off or whether the presentation is off, or perhaps it's just overall lazy inclusion. Whatever the case may be, they're complaining about the character for a reason, and it's because they picked up on the BS. They smelled your virtue signal from a mile away and they scoffed at it. They laughed at it. They basically shunned it, and you're mad that they shunned it. So again, fans don't care what race or gender a character is. They care about the story. They care about respecting source material, if you are adapting any, by the way, about delivering on character arcs that feel earned, about shows that value world building and emotional payoff over political brownie points. Look at shows like Andor or Breaking Bad or Arcane. All of them are diverse. All of them are critically praised, all loved by fans, because why? The diversity came naturally. It wasn't forced or used as an armor. It was authentic. It served the narrative. That's all people want, honestly, creativity and respect for the audience. But here's actually the saddest thing about all that, right? So even though Andor is, for the most part, I would say praised for how good the show actually is, the simple fact is not many people watched it because it's involved in a world of Star Wars that has been completely muddied and watered down by Disney doing the nonsense that they're doing all the time, right? When they're using characters as racial shields and they're using all this nonsense and doing TV shows like The Acolyte, you get a situation where Andor, a TV show that's actually good because it was made by people who, I guess, somehow, some way actually know about the source material and respect the story enough to make it interesting, they just don't get watched because they are put together with the other assholes. And it's unfortunate, but it's true, because I did the same exact thing. I refuse to watch anything Disney related. I don't care. I hate Disney with a passion, and I don't want to consume anything. I haven't consumed anything Disney in a very long time, and I will continue to do so because I don't need them for my entertainment. It's really honestly quite clear. So here's where this ultimately leaves us, right? So Naughty Dog, just like Disney before them, has chosen to play a really dangerous game, and they're just not preparing actresses for potential backlash. They're preloading a narrative that automatically invalidates fan feedback, and we're watching it play out every single day. Every episode that releases for The Last of Us has a media spin talking about racism, misogyny, bigotry, whatever the case may be. You pick your word, and there's an article for it. The media has been running with it since episode 1, and they will continue to run with it until the final episode airs and after that as well. But fans are not stupid. We've seen this playbook before. We've seen studios use identity as a shield and racism as a silencing tactic. We've seen great shows with diverse casts soar, and lazy shows hide behind diversity to avoid responsibility. The Last of Us Season 2 has a tough road ahead, but not because the audience is hateful, but because they're being tired of being insulted, ignored, and gaslit. Good storytelling speaks for itself. Real representation doesn't need protection, and fake racism backlash, well, to be honest, it just makes it harder for everyone. So ultimately, this is where we are going to be with The Last of Us. It's only going to get worse as time goes on, and as you can clearly see, these actresses and actors are perfectly fine with being used as racial shields as long as they get what they want from the entire situation. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, drop a comment, let me know what you thought overall about the video, and special shout out to the Bigot Army members. Thank you guys so much for hitting that join button, and if you are not a member yet, consider hitting that join button to join the over 1,500 of you that are members of this channel to get your name in the credits. And I thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Hypnotic out.